All right, ladies and gentlemen, let us pick up from where we have left. My name is Khwaleta Tavuzane. I will be taking you through the last part of the presentation, that is presentation 3 of 3 of the constitutional law, where we'll be dealing with chapter 13, schedule 4 and 5. Let's get to it then. This section, we're going to start from where we have ended. We've ended from here. Here we are talking about the National Revenue Fund, section 213. Section 213 is split into 3, is talking about 3 things: the creation of the fund, and the withdrawal regulations, and the equitable share. So it says that at the government level, there must be a fund that deposits all the monies of the government, and that is permitted by section 213. And on the withdrawal regulations, it states that if we want to withdraw from that funds, there must be acts or statutes that the government is creating that are going to allow for monies to be withdrawn from there. And when we withdraw from the National Revenue Fund, we must withdraw with the purposes of providing equitable share. So equitable share is a direct charge. In other words, it charges directly from the National Revenue Fund. Section 214 is mentioning 3 things there. They are saying that there must be an act of parliament that allows for an equitable share to be withdrawn from the national revenue, and there must be a way in which an equitable share is determined, and the money in which is going to be distributed must have conditions. In other words, the condition could either be an unconditional or a conditional grant. Section 215 is talking about national, provincial, and municipality budget. In other words, within the 3 spheres: national, provincial, and local budget. So it emphasizes 3 things. It emphasizes transparency, it emphasizes legislative requirements, it emphasizes budget contents. So under transparency, it says it must promote 4 things. The budget must promote transparency, it must be accountable, it must be effective, and it must be shared fairly amongst all the 3 spheres of government. And that must be done using legislative framework to ensure that there is compliance with laws. But what is it exactly the Constitution is saying? Is saying that the budget itself must have a format, all right? And in that format, we must know that when is it tabled, to whom is it tabled, who is tabling it, when is it tabling, and what the person to whom the budget is tabled to must do with it. And the content of the budget across all national departments must be the same, across all provincial departments must be the same, and across all the municipalities must be the same. And it says that in the content of the budget, it must include estimates, it must include revenue, and it must include expenditure. And it if it does gonna talk about proposals for financial deficit, it must talk about that, and it must also mention if the municipality intends to make any borrowings there. So we get that from the budget. Treasury controls, it's section 216. You will see later on in the slides that we're going to be introducing the functions of National Treasury, but the Constitution at this point, at section 216, is mentioning that the National Treasury, the South African government must establish the National Treasury for 2 things: for expenditure control and compliance enforcement. So with the expenditure control, they stated that the purpose there is to ensure transparency, and with the compliance enforcement, the purpose there is to make sure that there is consequent management for those who make serious breaches of the controls that would have been put forward by the National Treasury. Section 217 is introducing procurement policies, and it mentions three things again. It's mentioning fairness, it's mentioning preference categories, and legislative framework. And it says on the legislative framework that the national legislation must find a way of regularizing procurement policies, and procurement themselves must be fair, equitable, transparent, and competitive, and cost effective. The aim is not to take money from government without explanation, but it must be cost effective, and it must have a preference to include disadvantaged people. And of course, we'll take the whole day if we want to say who is disadvantaged and who is not disadvantaged. From where I'm set, I think everybody in South Africa is disadvantaged, but I think that this is one of the most difficult acts to implement. Importance of transparency in budget is split into three: promoting accountability, enhancing public trust, facilitating oversight. On the first one, promoting of accountability, we're talking about budgets promoting accountability in financial management. Because if you see how thin the municipality resources are, really we need accountability there to say this is what we have done with the money we have. And if the municipalities are able to do that, surely they will be able to enhance public trust, and then institutions like National Treasury or Provincial Treasury will be able to facilitate between Area 1 and Area 2, promoting accountability, enhancing public trust. Financial management principles, there are two of them. Effective management means that whatever we do must project better economic growth, and on the strategic planning, it means that the resources that we have must be better allocated. Key takeaways is the importance of compliance to make sure that we are accountable and transparent on the resources that we have as a municipality, and whatever we do, we must try to create a better municipality there. Section 226 is talking about provincial and local financial matters, and they are saying whatever is happening, there must be a better allocation of funds between and amongst provinces and municipalities. As we have seen in section 213, we also see here that there must be provincial revenue funds, and they are governed the same way as we have seen in section 213 on the national and provincial departments. Section 227 is talking about national sources of fund, and is split into three: equitable share, and is talking about additional allocation, and is talking about revenue independence. I think I want to talk specifically on the additional allocations. Additional allocations means that the money that is allocated must have an indication to say this money is conditional or unconditional. If it's unconditional, it can be used on anyhow, but if it's conditional, it's for a specific purpose. But in the event the province has managed to raise funds of a certain value for itself, that money must not reduce what is the province is entitled to from the National Revenue Fund. Municipal fiscal powers, we will see after we have dealt with the Constitution that the first chapter, in chapter 3, is municipal fiscal powers. Here in the Constitution is talked in section 229, and here in the Constitution, the Constitution is raising three things that we must consider if the municipality has got the power to impose rates. Which are those rates? Are property and services rates. Let us consider if the municipality is able to impose taxation, but if they are able to impose taxation, they must not impose income tax or the custom duties, and that must be done in accordance with the national legislation. And of course, if the municipalities are able or have been authorized to impose tax, we must consider the economic policies of the country, the criteria for division, and equitable consideration over there. This part of the constitution is talking about instances where the municipalities are able to share revenue, and they are talking about collaboration and the involvement of the communities, because the communities in which these municipalities are must understand the methods and the instances in which the municipalities they belong to are sharing revenue. Consultation revenues, 3 of them, the second one being the most important, to say any anything that might have financial implications to the government must be done in consideration of the financial and fiscal commission there. So in other words, whatever the municipalities want to do, they must first consult the fiscal, they must consult first the financial and the fiscal commission. The constitutional framework is divided into 3. So there is a requirement for provinces to provide resources as per their constitutional provinces. But even though they do that, the national sphere must provide guidance on which that can be done between provinces and the municipalities. And the aim of this is to ensure that there is better influence on the financial independence of local governance, because what we don't want is to find out, even though these 3 spheres of government are interdependent, the municipalities must still be given an autonomy to work independently there. Okay, I think the spirit of the constitution here is that whatever that we're going to learn going forward, we must understand that it has got basis from the constitution. And if there is anything that we're going to learn in this audit committee gathering that doesn't have a constitutional base, we must find out why that is happening, from where it is happening, because it could be that it is happening from some of the amended sections of the constitution. Municipality loans, section 230A gives the authority to the council to raise loans for current capital and for current expenditure. All right, but even though that is important, it must be adhere to the national treasure, to the national legislation, and it must be done looking at the recommendations from the Financial and Fiscal Commission. So you could see that in this part of the presentation that the Financial and Fiscal Commission becomes an important body in which municipalities must check regularly to say that they comply with. Types of loans, we've already mentioned that the municipality can be able to take a loan for both capital and for current expenditure. The bridging loans can only be taken for purposes of bridging during a fiscal year. So you can see as an audit committee member that there are quite a number of questions you can ask, especially when you're looking on section 52D of the section 52D and section 71 of the Municipal Management Act. So you can see that you are becoming clever to ask important questions there. So if a municipality gets into a loan with a bank and that council is dissolved, the loan doesn't dissolve. It also binds the future council. Or if the council has been disbanded on purposes of intervention and an administrator wasn't appointed, then the administrator remains liable for that loan. As the administrator cannot say, no, I did not take the loan, but the previous council did. The administrator becomes the council of the municipality and must make sure that things are happening there. Okay, so within the municipality in Schedule 4, we see local government matters and we see municipal services, and in the infrastructure, we're talking about stormwater management system and management of public works. We can see that under municipal services, we see municipal planning, health services, and public and transport. And under local government matters, we can see that it includes air pollution, building regulations, and childcare facilities. But what we pick up from Schedule 4 is that it doesn't separate to say between the 3 categories of municipalities is responsible for this. I guess we're going to get that when we are dealing with the Structures Act. Because remember, we've got 3 categories of municipalities: category A being the metro, category B being the local municipality, and category 3 or C being the district municipality. I think the Municipal Structures Act will tell us which exactly from those must ensure that. Okay, Schedule 5 is talking about beaches and amusement facilities and cemeteries, refuse removal, and street lights there. So it's very important to understand what is sitting between these 2 schedules, so that when you are preparing for your audit committee meetings, you don't ask questions that are out of context. But if you want to ask a question that is out of context, you must give a disclaimer to say, perhaps the question that I'm going to ask is out of context and I need to be guided. Then you can ask your question, because there's nothing that says you cannot ask a question there. I'm including COGTA here. I think that's what the authors wanted us to say, that COGTA is one of the important departments. And this section, when we deal with it later on in the chapter, although we're talking about it now, we'll explore its roles and responsibilities in local government, emphasizing its importance on local community development and service delivery. Because remember, there are 3 departments that you will see in the audit committee. It's SALGA, we call those sectoral departments. It's SALGA, very rare and very scarce, and we'll see COGTA and we'll see National Treasury. And I think we have introduced this year so that you keep that in mind, so that you can start searching what their roles are in the audit committee. But briefly, COGTA's responsibilities are split into 3: community development, service delivery, policy implementation. All right. So with community development, the focus there is on community participation in local governance. The focus on service delivery is to ensure efficient delivery of essential services to community, because we are working with very thin budget there. And on policy implementation, we want to make sure that there is a coherence between the policies involving the 3 spheres of government, being the national, provincial, and the local sphere. Okay, when we talk of National Treasury, we have already seen from the previous slides that the Constitution makes it a point that the government is formulating a department called National Treasury. And of course, National Treasury in South Africa, we will find it in other provinces. So we'll have National Treasury and we'll have Provincial Treasury. And the Constitution makes important recommendations on what this department must do. Okay, 3 functions that I thought we should quickly remember when we're dealing with National Treasury. It's budget management, that is number 1, financial oversight, that is number 2, resource allocation, that is number 3. So on the budget management, the National Treasury must oversee the preparation and execution of municipal budget. So they must come in and help the municipality to make sure that whatever they do remains within budget, and whatever they do complies with the law, and whatever they do it's managed, it is based on a good principles of financial management. With the National Treasury on municipalities, we see 3 categories of importance: fiscal, financial health, and service improvement and transparency. With the financial health, I think there the National Treasury is meant to make sure that the municipalities live equitable and efficient with what they have. Service delivery is to make sure that out of what the municipalities have, out of that thin budget, they produce quality of life to its citizens. Okay, there is nothing of poor quality because they don't have enough money. All right, so because the Constitution is talking about procurement, we must procure from someone who can do this at the best quality within the given resources. And when we are asked to account for that, the processes must be transparent. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. That then sums up this whole round of constitutional law. It was quite a mile, and thank you so much for staying along. We divided constitutional law into 3, and it was very long. and I'm hopeful that you've really gained something, that we have now put another chapter aside, and it has helped you to shape your questioning, to shape your mindset, to make you a better member of the audit committee. Thank you so much. See you in the next run. Have a nice one.